Hi, I'm Julie, and this is Art Biz Pro, helping women like you teach art after school and build a business you love. Hi, I'm Julie Robinson with Art Biz Pro, and in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to teach the primary and secondary colors to kindergarten and first graders. With painting, I just use a paper plate, and I have the kids, like for kindergarten and first grade, I will put the paint on the plates for them. But by using small amounts of paint like this, it teaches them actually to use a lot less paint. And rather than the big cups of paint, I've just found that they learn quicker and easier with paper plates. And then when we're done, we fold these in half and fold them half again and put them in a trash can that has a liner in it. That way we're not cleaning palettes, we're not trying to save paint that's already mixed, because then you have paint that's mixed and put in a cup that is clean, and then you have dirty paint, and no, we don't need to do that. And you're not saving any money by doing it that way, I promise. And by buying paper plates, even some paper plates are expensive right now, go to the Dollar Tree, find cheap plates, or you could even use newspaper or like the big butcher paper that you cover tables with. You could use squares of that, for their paint. Although I like the plates because it does have a little bit of an edge on it, and it kind of keeps them, when they're swirling their paint like this, keeps it in the plate. Okay. Kindergarten and first grade are still learning their fine motor skills. So we're going to use larger images for them to paint on, and a little bit smaller images, not too detailed, but a little bit smaller where they can color. So we're going to use these giant flowers to color and cut out, because their cutting skills, they're still learning those fine motor skills. So cutting, some kids have a very difficult time cutting, so you might want to help them use the smaller scissors for smaller hands. As kids get into 4th and 5th grade, they can start using maybe the little bit bigger scissors. Their hands are a little bit bigger, and they have more dexterity with the scissors. But it's handy if you have a color wheel, so you can actually show them where the red is and the blue and the yellow, showing that those are the primary colors, and that when we get the paint out, we're going to mix them into the yellow and blue make green, blue and red make violet, and the red and yellow make orange. And you can show them on the color wheel in between each set of primary colors is the secondary color, and you can play with it a lot. You can show them how the secondary color exactly opposite of that is its complementary color. But I wouldn't go into that too much with kindergarten and first grade. I would just start out by showing them the primary colors. We're just going to do one step at a time. So this is how I would teach this lesson to kindergarten and first grade. Hi, my name is Julie Robinson, and I am so excited to share this fun project with you. Today we are going to learn about our primary colors, and we have the cutest little dinosaur that we're going to paint in our project, and we're going to color the flowers. Now these flowers, the dinosaur is going to eat some of the petals, and when he does that, he eats these petals, and the primary colors mix in his mouth, and he mixes them into secondary colors. So we're going to learn what that means. So a primary color is red, yellow, and blue. Those are 3 colors that are impossible, really, to mix with any other colors. It's really hard to make these colors. But from these colors, we can make just about any other color we want. So blue and yellow, if you mix these together, you're going to get green. And if you mix red and blue together, you're going to get violet. And if you mix red and yellow together, you're going to get orange. So orange, green, and violet that you would mix to our primary colors to get these are called secondary colors. Can everybody say secondary? So the secondary colors are orange, violet, and green. So we're going to put these 3 colors aside for right now. And we're only going to work with the primary colors first. So everyone say primary. All right, now on our flower page, we have yellow, blue, and red. So everybody point at the flower at the top that says yellow. Everybody see that? So we're going to get our yellow oil pastel. So everybody hold up your yellow oil pastel. And the flower that you're touching, that's the one we're going to color yellow. So everybody do that now. So you can stop the video here if you want and color it on your own, or you can let the videotape just continue rolling and we will color it together. So I'm coloring my flower and you are coloring yours. Now I might be going a little bit fast, but please don't go fast. Take your time, go slow, and do a good job. I want your flowers to look really, really nice. And you can pause the video here if you're still coloring, but I'm finished. So you can pause it here and wait till you're done, then push play again, because I'm going to go on to my blue flower, which is the flower right next to the yellow one. So now I'm coloring the blue flower. It's the one that says the word blue inside the circle. And try, it doesn't, you know, it's not a big deal if you go outside the lines. I do that sometimes. I go outside the lines. Like if I go like that, it's okay, you know, if I make a mistake. Also, we're going to cut these flowers out, so I can cut that part off and nobody will even see it. It doesn't even matter. But I am going to try to get all of my flower petals colored solid. And while I am working on this, I'm going to draw a couple extra big oval. Is there something under my paper? A big oval, like it's a flower petal. I'm going to draw one extra blue one. I'm going to go back to my yellow, and I'm going to draw an extra yellow one, because we're going to cut these out and we're going to make it look like the dinosaur is eating the flower petals. Oh, that's what was under my paper, was my red one. Okay, now I'm going to color my red one. It's the one that's left, and it says red in the center. And I'm going to see what, if you notice, I am outlining my flower petals, so I'm practice drawing my flower petals by doing that. I'm following the shape of the petal. Then I color on the inside, and that makes it a little bit easier to stay in the lines. So I'm going to trace the flower petal and kind of go around where the center is, and then I stay just right inside what I just drew. And again, that helps me stay inside the lines. And because this is a round shape that I'm coloring, I am making like kind of like little circles inside the flower petal to color it, and that helps me stay inside the lines. Rather than drawing like straight back and forth, that would make straight lines, and I don't want to make straight lines because then that would make me go really out of the lines. These lines where the flower petals are curved. Okay, I'm all done with that, but I want to make another flower petal and color it red. Now, I'm done with that. And I'm going to reach over to my secondary colors. I'm going to grab the green because most leaves on flowers are green. Not always, but most of the time. And I'm going to draw a curve shape this way. And then I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to curve it this way. And then I'm going to draw a line in the middle. And that is my leaf. So I'm going to color in a couple of leaves. So I'm going to make 1, 2, maybe another one over here, 3, that's probably good for now. Okay, so now I'm going to get my scissors, and you will probably have a smaller pair of scissors that you're using. And the only ones that I have in my reach right now are these great big scissors, but my hands are big hands, so they fit my hands pretty good. But I would not recommend using this big of a pair of scissors for your hands. Okay, so now what we're going to do is carefully, we are going to cut out our flowers. So we're going to cut around. You can turn your paper as you're turning your scissors. That helps me sometimes to get something that is round that I need to cut. So I turn it as my scissor is closing. So I open it up, I put it in the where I want to start, and I start to close my scissor. And as I go outside of it, too far away, then I turn my paper back to my flower, and I turn my paper. So I'm going slow with my scissor, and I'm going slow with my turning. So I'm taking my time. So I'm cutting around the flower. And if you have to lift your hand off and turn your paper around, that's fine. Start again. Cutting slow, being careful not to cut my fingers. And then I'm turning it back where I'm pointing my scissor where I want to go. So I'm pointing it straight on this flower petal. Now it's turning, so I'm using my hand to turn my paper a little bit, and I'm keeping my hand steady. I'm going to show you another way we can cut out flowers too. So that one's done. So on my yellow one, I am going, if it's really hard for you to turn your papers and cut in and out, if you're just learning how to cut, what I would do is I would actually put my other flower aside so I don't cut that. I'm going to cut just a big circle around my flower. Because that is a little bit easier, and I'm still cutting it out. It's not, you know, exactly going around all the inner parts of the flower petals, but I have my flower, and that is good for me. I like that. So now I have my red flower and my yellow flower, and I'm going to cut out my blue flower, and I'll cut out my blue in the same way. So I'm going to just go around in a circle. I might go back and cut that part out because I really colored out of the lines on that one. I just want to be careful that I don't cut any of my flower petals off. So I don't want to cut them across. Now, for these extras, if you have a big piece of paper like this that you're working with, just look at the little part that you are cutting and cut that part off. Just do a small section at a time, right? So it's easier to work with. So you can have one part in your hand. So I'm going to cut out my leaf. I'm going around where I'm not cutting the color, I'm cutting around the colored part. So that one's done. So I'll set that one aside. And I have two more. I have one leaf. See how I just cut that whole part off? Makes it easier to work with. Two leaves. and 3 leaves. Now, I have this little red thing. What is that? A petal. That's right. We made some extra flower petals. So I'm going to cut out my little flower petal. Cutting out as close to the edge, but not cutting my color off. Okay, so I have 1 flower petal that's red, and then I have 1 that's yellow. And I have 1 that is blue. Okay. Now, the rest of this paper, I am going to collect it all, roll it up into a ball, and throw it in the trash. So then I don't have any more mess of cut paper. So you should do that now. Okay. Now I am ready for my cute baby dinosaur. So this dinosaur is in 2 parts. So either you have it already taped together for you, or somebody's going to come by and help you tape this together. So what I like to do is cut this ahead of time for the students. And you can use Scotch tape or masking tape, whatever works for you. But do it on the back so that their coloring and their painting isn't affected by it. So line up the sides of the paper so that the edges are completely matching and the egg matches also. I think it's about right there. And tape all the way across, because if they're painting, you want that to be sealed. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go back to how I would teach the kids once they have this in front of them. So now we're taking our cute dinos, and your paper is connected right where he's popping out of his eggshell. Okay, so we're gonna glue these last. Okay, so we are going to start by using our secondary color. Okay, we are going to color the dinosaur's spots a secondary color. So we get to choose which one we're going to color his spots. So we're not coloring the dinosaur or his egg or anything else, just his spots. And you could maybe do his spines, I guess, with a secondary color too. But I'm going to choose, for my dinosaur, I'm going to choose purple or violet for my dino's spots. So I'm going to draw a circle around each circle. I'm going to circle it first, outline it, and then I'm going to make smaller circles inside to color it. So that's what we're doing right now. So everyone pick which secondary color you want to use. Secondary colors are either violet orange or green. So these colors right here, either violet, orange, or green. This is fun. This is going to be so pretty. And do the spots on his little face also. I think I am going to color his spines the same color, so I'm going to outline his spines in this color first. And I'm also going to do the little shadow rocks down here in this purple color. Well, my secondary color, the one I chose for my spots on my dinosaur. Okay. And that's it for the secondary colors. Now the rest of the secondary colors we're going to paint. So this might be the end of your class, or this might be a break. This might be where you want to take a break and put things away and do this in the second part of this project the next day, or for your class, your next session. So let's get out our paints. So with painting, I just use a paper plate, and I have the kids, like for kindergarten, first grade, I will put the paint on the plates for them. But by using small amounts of paint like this, it teaches them actually to use a lot less paint. And rather than the big cups of paint, I've just found that they learn quicker and easier with paper plates. And then when we're done, we fold these in half and fold them half again and put them in a trash can that has a liner in it. That way we're not cleaning palettes, we're not trying to save paint that's already mixed, because then you have paint that's mixed and put in a cup that is clean, and then you have dirty paint, and no, we don't need to do that. And you're not saving any money by doing it that way, I promise. And by buying paper plates, even some paper plates are expensive right now, go to the Dollar Tree, find cheap, So I like the plates because it does have a little bit of an edge on it, and it kind of keeps them, when they're swirling their paint like this, keeps it in the plate. Okay, so we need a cup of water. And with water, just fill about 1 to 1.5 inches of water. They don't need any more water than that. And a paper towel to wipe their brushes off on. Okay. And this is how I would teach this. Okay, we're back, and I'm excited to teach the rest of this dinosaur with you. So we have our secondary color spots. So that's done. Now we're going to paint this whole paper. So we're going to start out by painting his shell first. And we're going to paint around the spots. And we're going to pick one of our secondary colors. So if you have a secondary color on your plate, like orange, violet, or green, you can use that if you want. Or if you want to have fun and see what kind of colors that you can create to make a secondary color, that's kind of fun too. So I'm going to try to create one. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. I'm going to scoot it over here next to my blue. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of blue and I'm going to scoot it next to my yellow. And I'm going to do a small little swirl circles, small, right in between my blue and yellow. And I'm going to see, I'm not going big, this is small. So if you can see what I'm doing, it's just small. I'm just swirling it in the middle until I get a nice separate color that's different than blue and different than yellow. It looks like a very pretty green. So I'm going to kind of turn my brush back and forth in that until my brush looks like it's mostly green. And that is what I'm going to paint my shell with. So I'm going to follow the lines of the shell and I'm just going to paint the white part. I'm going to go around my purple spots the best I can. And I'm just going to keep using this brush until there's no more paint coming off onto the paper, because there's a lot of paint on this brush. So I'm going to drag it down and brush it sideways, but I'm going to try to stay inside the lines because I have a nice drawn picture here. I go around the top. Okay, I'm starting to lose, see how it's starting to look dry? So I'm going to grab a little bit more of my paint on my brush. I'm going to turn my brush in my paint a little bit. Let me show you what I'm doing. I'm just turning my brush in it a little bit. So I have about that much paint on my paintbrush. And I'm going around. If I accidentally paint over one of my spots, it's okay, not a big deal. This does not have to be perfect. I want to do a nice job though. I want to try to do my best because I love art and I like to do a good job of my art. I like it to look nice. But if I accidentally do something, it's okay. And most of the time I can paint over my mistakes, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, I'm running out of paint again, so I'm going to dab my brush a little bit in my paint. I want to have enough paint so that I'm getting color on here. I don't want it to be just dry the whole time, because you can always go over it a second time, you know, if you want it to be a little darker. And try to brush off like any, like if you have a glob of paint on your paper, that kind of makes your paper, it can make your paper tear if it's too watery or too wet, or it can take it a really long time to dry. So I would kind of scoop that up with your paintbrush if you have too much paint. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom part of my shell. I'm using the same color because it's the shell, right? The whole thing is the same color. And I'm going around the bottom edge. I'm going to outline. Then I'm going to dip my brush in, get a little bit more paint because I need more. I might have to even mix a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going around all of this stuff up here. This is where the edge of the egg is, and this is where his little hands are folding over, so I don't want to get his hands. And I can go around the circles. And remember, if you're watching this on video, if you're watching it with your teacher can pause it when she thinks you guys need to have it paused. But if you're just watching this at home, you can pause the video. You can watch the whole thing first if you want to see how it's done, and then turn it off and paint it yourself. Or you can paint while you're listening to me and watching me. Or you can stop and play and stop and play. You could do it like that. Or you can listen to a section of it and then turn it off and paint a section. So I'm going in circles around some of the spots, and I'm going straight kind of where I can go straight. But I'm trying to keep the curves in there around the spots that I did. And since we painted that in oil pastels, that kind of repels the paint, so the paint will stay away from it pretty good. Okay, I like it. That is very cute. All right, now, since I'm going to use a different color with my paintbrush, I'm going to wipe off on my paper towel all my extra paint first. Then I'm going to rinse my brush in the water. I'm going to swirl it around, kind of press it against the bottom and swirl it around some more, and then wipe it off on the inside of my cup. And that should be a pretty clean paintbrush. And if you want it more dry than that, you can touch your paper towel so it's not dripping. Oops, I just grabbed green. So I need to rinse my brush again. Tap it on the side. Tap it on my towel. Now I'm gonna pick a different secondary color. There's only one left that I haven't used yet. Can anybody say what it is? Do you know? If you said orange, you're right. So I have orange on my plate, but I think I'm gonna try to make orange myself because it's fun mixing colors. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my yellow, scoot it over to my red. I'm gonna take a little tiny bit of red because red is a lot stronger color than yellow. And I'm gonna swirl it in a little tiny circle to see if I can get a really pretty orange out of that. Ooh, that is pretty. And I'm turning my brush in it to see if I can get my brush coated. And I'm gonna paint my dinosaur now. It's gonna be a cute little orange dinosaur. And I'm gonna try to go around the lines around his nose and stuff, but if I paint over it, it's okay. But I'm gonna try to go around. And I'm not gonna paint his eye. Just the white part, not the white part inside his eyes though, but everything else that's white on him. Now, if you're at home, you can use whatever paints or colors you have. If you don't have this tempera or acrylic paint, you can use watercolor paint. Tempera paint's probably a good paint to use because it's washable. And watercolor would work really nicely too. And if you don't have any paint, you could do this project with crayons, markers, oil pastels, soft pastels, you can let me know in the comments if you're using something different than acrylic paint. I would love to know what you're using. So this is a little slower around these little tiny circles. So if you watch what I'm doing here for a quick second, I'm just kind of dotting because I have a very pointy paintbrush. So I'm just dotting around these circles really slowly because I don't want to cover them up with my big paintbrush. So I'm just dotting very lightly, just little bits around with some orange until I get all the way around it, till all the circles are covered around with orange, but I don't paint the circles. Okay. Now I can go down and around where his face is. I can do a long stroke by his face. And I can use the side of my brush where all that paint is. Lots of paint. Down here, see on the bottom part of my brush? So I can put it like literally sideways and just get the paint off. Look at it, he looks like a little fire dragon. But he's not a dragon, he's a dinosaur. Okay, and then I need a little bit more orange paint, and I need to do his neck and his little feet. And try your best to get all of the white covered up with your paint. Okay. I think he's looking really super cute. Now, what color do you think I might paint my heart? I'm going to go pretty typical with like a red heart, but then I'm going to add a little bit of violet in the center of my heart. So watch what I do. I'm going to go around the edge here to outline it. And then I'm going to paint kind of like the whole thing pretty much red. But then I'm going to dip a little bit into this violet color, and I'm going to paint a little bit of violet in the center of my heart, just to give it some pizzazz, something fun. Okay, now I'm going to paint the background. So this is pretty easy. If you have like a bigger fat paintbrush like this would be really good, especially if you're in kindergarten and first grade. These are nice to hold on to with your hands, and they are easy to get into the paint. So what I do with them is I just touch the tip part of my brush. I don't go all the way down to here. So I just grab the paint with the tip part of my brush, and then I can paint back and forth here where the foreground is. And brush it back and forth, or I can brush back and forth like this. Grab a little bit more green. I'm going to get all the way to the edge. So, teacher note, if you put masking tape and tape this paper down to the paper that's on the table, their paper won't move, and when they paint on the edge, they're usually painting just up to the tape part of it, the masking tape, and then you can just peel the masking tape off when it's dry, and it has a nice little white border around their paper, and you don't get as much paint all over the table. Okay, so now I'm going to paint a little bit of the middle ground. So not all the way like farthest back where mountains would be, but just kind of the ground behind him. So I'm gonna put the line around him, and I'm gonna paint kind of up to maybe a little bit past this point where they were taped together. So I'm brushing it back and forth like little, kind of like little X's. Back and forth. So I'm now grabbing my blue and yellow, because it's a little bit different green than the green that I squirted out of the bottle. So I'm going around his shell first, just to kind of, I call it the protective layer, so that I'm not painting my dinosaur. So we're just gonna, it's kind of like the bushes in the background. And I'm just dabbing around these little circles here. And I'm gonna go up to about here. That's about as far as I'm gonna go. Okay, now I am going to wipe this off onto my paper towel really good, get all the paint off. Just kind of in one spot. I just dab it in one spot. Then I put it in my paint rinse cup and I press it against the bottom. And then I slowly turn it around in the water. And press it against the bottom and slowly turn it around in the water. Then I squeeze it against the side. I hold my cup and squeeze it against the side. And then I touch my paper towel a couple times just to get any of the drippies off. Now, my sky is going to be blue. So I'm grabbing just blue and I'm going up to the top. And I'm coloring or painting a very dark blue, the darkest blue, up at the very, very top. And I might like to leave it just like that, or I'm going to touch a little bit of water and just kind of make it a watery blue all the way down, I guess. But you could leave it white if you want, or you can paint it all the way down. Paint it all the way down into the green if you're painting it blue. Okay. Now, we're done with this part. So what you can do with your paint plate, if you have acrylic paint on your plate like I do, is I fold it in half and then I carefully fold it in half again. Don't do this over your painting in case any paint drips. Do this over the trash can. But I'm just showing you on the camera so you can see what I do. And then I take it and I drop it all the way into a trash can that has a liner in it. And then that's it. I don't have to clean off any more paint or anything like that. If you have paint that's in jars with lids, go ahead and put the lids back on your paint and keep your paint brushes in the water so they don't dry out until you can rinse them off. And then when this is completely dry, probably in about half an hour to an hour, a note for teachers, this would be the second part coming back to class. And when it's all dry, I'm going to dry it real quick so I can finish for you. This is a trick that you can use in your classroom. You can get bring a little blow dryer with you and just dry off. No, anything that you need. This is a good place to stop and let everything dry, and then they can finalize gluing everything down for their last session and taking it home. So I'm just going to try this real quick. Now, for our last part, since everything is dry now, only do this if your paint is completely dry. I'm going to outline it with a Sharpie. If you do this and the paint is wet, it will ruin your Sharpie. So make sure that your paint is completely dry. But when it's completely dry, you can outline this with a Sharpie or a black crayon, oil pastel. I wouldn't do it with paint because you don't want to get this painted again. Okay, and then I would outline his spines. And his little paws, claws, hands. I'm not sure what a dinosaur's little claw, I guess claws, his claws. I guess that's what they would be called. And then his little nostrils, and his cute little nose, and his cute little smile. I think he's really cute. So I'm just gonna circle the eye, and then I'm going to trace where the highlight is. That's all I'm doing. And then outline this part of the shell. And all the way around the top part. His face and his neck. Anything else that you think needs to be outlined? Now my circles look pretty good, but if I had painted over them too much, I might have outlined them as well. Okay, now we want to glue on our flowers. Okay, that was a long pause. We are still going. Get my glue stick out. Okay, so we're ready to glue on our flowers. So get out your glue stick or your bottle of Elmer's glue. And when I glue something on, I turn the back of it over and I go from the center out. And I make sure that I go out to the edges so all the edges will stick. So I'm going to put my yellow one here. You can put your flowers wherever you want. I would suggest not putting them in the sky though, because we want to make it look like they're growing out of the ground. See how vibrant and beautiful these colors look together? You have all the primary and secondary colors, and they just make things look like they just pop. Look at that. Makes the flowers so bright against the green. Okay, so now my green leaves, I'm going to put a green leaf over here. And another green leaf over here. Let's see, I'm going to put my green leaf right maybe back over here. Let's see, I might do another green leaf. Maybe back here, kind of coming off of my paper a little bit. Looks cool. All right, now this is going to be cute. Before you put the glue on these, kind of line up where you want these to go. So I want him to be eating these, so they're coming out of his mouth like this. He's eating them. So I'm going to put one here. And one here. And one here. And I'm going to cut the little tips off right where his mouth is to make it look like that part went inside his mouth. You could maybe get an adult to help you with that if you want to do that too. But just look how cute is that. That is so cute. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on a nice big border. So you can choose whatever color you want for your border, but a big sheet of construction paper. Now my green doesn't make him stand out as much. I would say orange, because I made him orange. That would stand out even. I have orange. Okay, let's see if this makes him look even better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's even better. Okay. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn him over. Now, to do this, all you do, make sure you have a little bit of glue edge, is go around the top edge, all down the side. Whoop! Not off the table. Around the bottom edge. All the way up that side, and then a crisscross. So one this way and one this way, and that's it. That's all you need to do. Turn them over, line it up, and then you can touch exactly where those areas are that you know you just glued, which is the edges, right? The crisscross. We do the crisscross in the center. The edge on this side. Oh, that is That doesn't look like it's straight. That's okay. It doesn't have to. Right? It doesn't have to be straight. Okay. Kind of. I want it straight. Maybe my paper is not straight. I don't know. Okay. I don't think my paper was straight. It's okay. So I just press on all the edges, which has glue on it. I didn't miss any edges. And then the center. And the center that way. Okay. And if you're in a class with other students, you're going to want to put your name on this. Maybe beforehand, you could put your name on your back of your paper or the back of your frame. But it's dry, so it should be able to go home if you're in a class. All right. Well, thank you for creating this cute dinosaur with me. I hope you had fun, and I hope that you have a better understanding of what the primary and secondary colors are. So the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. And if you have access to a color wheel, it's kind of fun where you can see the red, blue, and yellow. And in between red and yellow is orange, so that's a secondary color. And in between red and blue is violet. That's a secondary color. And in between blue and yellow is green, and that's a secondary color. So you have all your secondary colors and your primary colors. So good job. Give yourself a pat on the back for a job well done. And find somewhere really cool, like maybe you could put this on the refrigerator, or if you have a special spot on your wall in your bedroom where you put your art. And then if you have a big, like a big paper portfolio that you can put your art in after you're done putting it on your wall for a while, you can take it down, put it in your portfolio, and put your next art project up. All right, well, have a beautiful day today, and I will see you next time on this channel. Bye for now. So for the teacher, at the end of this class, the cleanup should be fairly simple because you folded up your paint plates, put them in the trash. You can, if you have paper on the tables, you can roll that out and throw that in the trash. Or if you have, I used to buy these, which I'm actually using right now, are the little heavier felt, or felt underneath, and heavier plastic. They are a heavier weighted plastic, and I would just reuse those in my classes, and I would just roll them up so that they would dry in between classes and roll them back out. And they'd have paint on them, but it didn't matter because if they got paint on them, then it's okay. And take all the brushes, rinse them off really good, put some soap in the bristles, and run your hands through the bristles and the brush. But I would just take, I usually use some dish soap in a little travel size bottle. I take that with me to the classroom, and I either put it in one cup with some water, like a little dish bowl, and swirl the paint, in there, but actually move the bristles with your fingers to work the paint out. Otherwise it gets, especially in these brushes, it gets down into the back side of here, it gets really thick and gets hard, and then your brushes get ruined really quickly. You can also have the students, maybe some of the more responsible students or students that want to help and volunteer for extra reward stickers or extra points, have them help you rinse the brushes out and show them how you want it done, and just let them do it. And then you can go back in there and wipe the sink down and do a second look through all the brushes just to make sure that they were rinsed off really good. Put them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in your big bag of stuff, and that's it. You should be done. So your cleanup, it shouldn't be too daunting for you. I want this to be something that is fairly organized and doable and not daunting. I want this to be something that is, you can get this class done in a couple hours and go home to your family. Like right now, I'm going to go make dinner for my family. So I hope this was a good lesson for you. Let me know how this works out for you. And if you do this with your students, please send me pictures. It helps my business and it helps yours and it helps everybody else. So we would love to see pictures of your students' art and how it went, you know, what the success is for you with your business, because my success is if you're successful. So if you are, I am. And it's a win-win situation. So let me know how it goes and have a beautiful evening. Bye.